What's up, Flick Connection? This is Darren, and today I'm going to give you the top 10 action movies currently available on Netflix. So action is one of my favorite genres, but it is one of those genres where you can easily turn your brain off. And because of that, there are a lot of small studios that will produce a total piece of garbage for little to nothing. And they'll actually spend a decent amount of their budget on the graphics and the promotions and the trailer and the actor. There's some big name actors, action movie actors that are in some Netflix movies that are total garbage. And it's easy to fall for these, especially with Netflix's new rating system. You can easily get confused. You can fall for a shit movie, waste an hour and a half of your life. So today, I'm going to tell you how to skip that and go to these 10 movies. Now, it was very, very difficult because I'm pretty particular and I only want to give you very good recommendations. It was very difficult to get 10 unique action movies that you probably haven't seen. I got 5. And before that, I've got 5 for you that I think most people have probably seen. So rather than tell you too much about those, I'm going to give those to you real quick. And now that I've done that, I want to run through my top 5, the top 5 on this list, starting with number 5, a movie called Everly, which features a half-naked, gun-slinging Selma Hayek shooting her way out of a brothel. And if that one-sentence review doesn't sell this movie for you, I'm not sure what else I can do, but I can, without giving everything away, I can tell you it's really cool. It's got kind of a Sin City vibe. Not as good, but it does have kind of a Sin City vibe. I knew nothing about this movie before I saw it, and I really liked it. It's a cool flick. She's smoking in it. She does a great job in it. The action's cool. The production value's decent, and they do a very good job with the limited budget you can tell that they had. They cut corners where they should have been cut, and they focused on the things they needed to focus on to make this movie work, which I think is really cool. And it's just a little different. I really liked it. I've watched it twice. I've introduced some other people to it. Everyone I showed it to has liked it. So definitely check this one out if you kind of like the vibe I'm talking about. But this one is not for the kids. Watch this one after the kids go to bed because it earns that sentence I opened up with. It is graphic in every sense of the word. All right, and at number 4... Get the Gringo is a really cool action movie starring Mel Gibson. Now, this one, the production value jumps up a bit. It's not huge. It's not Lethal Weapon level, but it jumps up a bit from Everly. And the only real reason I can think this movie got brushed under the rug is because audiences just were not ready to welcome back Mel Gibson into the fold. So, that said, the movie opens, if you're not into it in the first couple of minutes, give it at least 15. The movie opens with a car chase that follows a bank robbery. And I remember thinking the first time I watched this movie, like, something's missing. Something doesn't feel right. We're just jumping into it. There's a few little special effects in the beginning that don't feel right. And they're not consistent with the rest of the movie because the rest of the movie is not on the same level. It's a really solid action movie that takes place in a Mexican prison. More on that in a second. But I ended up reading up on this movie, and it turns out that the script originally contained the heist to open the movie, followed by a car chase through town that ends up out in the desert, which is where the movie actually starts. And all that had to be cut for budgetary purposes, which I'm okay with because we brushed past that. It's not that crucial to the story. And then they got to focus and they didn't really have to cut anywhere else, which I think is really important because this movie is really rich just because it's gritty and it takes place in this crazy Mexican prison where prisoners have their families there with them. It's this whole like city inside these walls, almost like a kind of like an Escape from New York inside the walls of this Mexican prison. But instead of having Kurt Russells, we got quesadillas. And it's an actual prison that was shut down. This was a sort of an experiment that failed, where they actually allowed families to be inside the walls with the prisoners. Now, obviously, this obviously was a horrible idea from the beginning. I don't know enough details about why they even tried to do it, but you do get to see some of that in this movie, and it works for the movie. It's sort of the major device within the movie, so it's cool for that reason. There's some weird stuff in it. There's sort of a weird thing involving Clint Eastwood. You'll get that reference when you watch the movie, but that aside, it's cool. It's a cool movie. Cool enough that you'll probably be surprised you haven't seen it. All right, and at number 3, this is one I really like. It's a Cantonese language movie, but it is really cool, and it's called The Good, the Bad, the Weird. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because it's loosely based on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Very, very loosely, but it is sort of a Western. It takes place in Mongolia, but there's a train robbery. They're on horseback. It does take place in the 1940s, so there are vehicles. Those get used. It is a really cool movie. It centers around 3 main characters, similar to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And it's long, it's epic, it is awesome. If this had been an American movie, you would have known about it, you would have seen it. It'd be one you've probably watched multiple times. It is a foreign movie, but just get past that. It is cool. Forget about what I said regarding production value on some of those other movies before. This one has high production value. I can't speak much to the acting because it's very hard to judge actors that don't speak your language, but I assume it's pretty good. It's got a couple of people that are fairly famous now. They've done some American films, but it is a cool, cool movie. The music's cool. The action sequences are great. It's long. It's well over 2 hours. So this one is very, very exciting. This is one worth saving for kind of a big movie night if you don't have a problem with subtitles, which I hope you don't, because number 1 requires them, and number 1 on this list is a doozy. It's essentially an action-packed American Western with a kung fu twist. It actually reminded me a lot of Indiana Jones while I was watching it. And it actually reminded me of Indiana Jones more than Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Those fucking monkeys. Those monkeys. Alright, and number 2, it's kind of a cop-out, but like I had to put it at this spot. I couldn't figure out another way to do it, and that's The Matrix. It's currently available. They're all available on Netflix right now, but it is one of the best action movies of all time. It's certainly top 10. It's in a lot of people's top 5, and as of right now, it is the best action movie currently available on Netflix. Well, why didn't you give it number 1? Because it is kind of a cop-out. Everyone's seen it. I almost burned a hole in the DVD of this one when I was in high school. And yes, even though I have gray hair, I'm young enough to have owned a copy on DVD while I was in high school. But this movie's just so solid. The effects, for the most part, still play really well today. The style, even though it's getting a little dated, is just still cool. I think it's going to age well. It's going to look dated, but it's going to wear its age well. And speaking of age, we're like just over a year, at the time of me filming this, we're just over a year away from the 20th anniversary of The Matrix, if you can believe that. Alright, enough of that. Number 1 pick on this list was very easy for me to make, and if you know the Netflix codes for genres, which I'm going to give you the one for action right here, this one is not on there. It is, for whatever reason, it's not listed under action. You have to go to a subgenre. You have to look up. It's listed under multiple subgenres, but just search for 13 Assassins. You may get there with the word. You definitely get there with the 1-3. This movie is so badass. It is easily one of the most badass movies on Netflix right now, if not the most macho, movie I have ever seen. Even if you're not into samurai movies or don't know whether or not you're into samurai movies, definitely give this one a chance. I will say, as badass as this movie is, and as much action as there is, all of that action, almost all of it, takes place in the last 20 minutes of the movie. So, the first, 2/3 of the movie, they're not slow, they're very interesting, it's very well done, it's enjoyable to watch, and it's going to hold your attention, but do not expect a lot of action up front. It's not that type of movie, and it doesn't work for the type of story that they're telling. By the way, this is based on a true story. I will not tell you too much, but the last 20 minutes of this movie are bananas. So if you've seen 13 Assassins, please give me like a 5. Let's go with 5. And I tell you what, no. Let's go with a 13-word review in the comments below. If you like any of the other movies that I mentioned here, share it with us. Let us know what you liked, maybe didn't like about them. If you think I'm nuts for putting some of these things on the list, let me know. If this list helped you, I want to know about it, so give me a thumbs up on the like button. And as always, thanks for watching.